Tone. Now, all languages, as far as I know, use variation of pitch of the voice for some purpose. So, all languages, when normal speakers of those languages are speaking, the pitch of their voice rises and falls. It never stays at the same level for very long. If you keep your voice at the same level, then it gets very boring and everybody goes to sleep. Okay? So pitch variation in language is universal. Some languages use pitch for one purpose, some languages use pitch for another purpose. Are there any native speakers of Chinese here? Aha, thank you. My first experience today. What variety of Chinese do you speak? Mandarin. Okay, Mandarin. Could you say loud and clear for us the Mandarin word for horse?
Ma.
Okay, and now the Mandarin word for mother.
Ma.
And now the Mandarin word for hemp, rope.
There's four sounds.
Yes.
Ma, 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 ma.
And they all mean different things.
Yes.
Okay. That's an example of a language. Chinese is an example of a language which is called a tone language. You change from one word to another when you change the pitch of the voice. Chinese is not the only one. Other examples are Thai, Vietnamese, I think. Lots of languages in Southeast Asia, lots of languages in Africa, lots of languages in Central and South America are, and in North America actually, tone languages. English is not a tone language. Okay, English is a language which uses pitch variation, it uses tone variation, but not to change from one word to another, but to change from one utterance meaning to another. So if I take the word no, I can do the same as, sorry, your name is?
Catherine.
Catherine did with Ma. I can say no.
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 No. Okay. I am not saying different words. I'm saying the same word with slightly different interpretations. Okay. I am using tone, not in a lexical way to change from one word to another, but in an intonational way to change from one utterance meaning to another. Okay. I don't need that, do I? Can you hear me at the back all right? Good, all right. Now, let me remind you of what I was talking about on Monday and probably what Jeff was talking about yesterday about the concept accent. Yeah? So, we have the idea that some syllables are rhythmically stressed, yes? And some of the rhythmically stressed syllables also have a pitch feature attached to them, a tone attached to them, which makes them accented. So some syllables are accented, some syllables are rhythmically stressed but not accented, and some syllables are not stressed at all. And remember the idea of nucleus too. The final accented syllable in the word group is called a nucleus. You have to have a nucleus in each word group. You can only have one nucleus in each word group. Everybody happy about that? Okay, now what we're going to look at is the sorts of tone, the tonal properties of the nucleus in English, or in my variety of English. Different varieties of English have different sorts of tonal catalogues, if you like, but I'm going to describe the tonal catalogue, or part of the tonal catalogue of my variety of English. You've got these pictures on your handout, so we're talking about nuclear tones. All right, here is the first nuclear tone I want to introduce you to. It's a fall. Remember this, this picture? Can you see the pointer? Yeah. That top line means the upper limit of the speaker's pitch range when speaking normally. The bottom line means the lower limit of the speaker's range when that speaker is speaking normally. Large circles, I remind you, like that one, mean that the syllable is rhythmically stressed, and the smaller ones, like the one on U, means that syllable is not rhythmically stressed. Okay, we've got three utterances here. The first one consists just of the single word no, and it carries this high-fall nuclear tone. So we start quite high in the speaker's pitch range. We're looking at this utterance here. Where's my pointer gone? Let's see it. Ah, there it is. We're looking at that utterance there. We start quite high in the speaker's pitch range and fall to quite low. So for me, that will sound something like this. No. 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 Okay? Now, we've got another utterance next to it, where we've got, again, the nucleus is no, the first syllable, but it's followed by a couple of syllables in the tail. Thank you very much. In the tail of the intonation pad. Now, if you use a high-fall nuclear tone, the tail, after the nucleus, is low and level. You can't choose to do something else. If you don't do that, then you're not doing a high-fall nuclear tone. So what's the definition of a high-fall nuclear tone? It is a tone attached to the last accented syllable of a word group, which starts high in the speaker's pitch range, falls to low by the end of that syllable, and then, if there are any more syllables, levels out, stays low and level. Doesn't rise again, doesn't fall, stays more or less low and level. That is part of the definition of the nuclear tone. I'll keep saying that because people get confused about that. So, in the second utterance here, this one, we've got two tail syllables, one of them is rhythmically stressed, and that will sound like this. No, you fool. No, you fool. No, you fool. And of course, we can make the tail longer if we want. So the last utterance there is no, you silly fool, with two rhythmically stressed utterances. Don't go around saying these utterances to people, please. You're in trouble. Okay, so listen again. No. No, you fool. No, you silly fool. Okay, so that's one of the falling nuclear tones that I use in my variety of English, and most varieties of English have that sort of nuclear tone. We can look at the next one, which is very similar. It's still a fall, but instead of starting high in the speaker's pitch range, we start around about mid-pitch. So instead of coming from, oops, where are we? I can't see this point. There, we come from about there. So instead of no, that was a high fall, now we've got no, no. That's a low fall. Hear the difference? No, no. Okay. And, whoops, I've made an error here. Just let me go back to the next one. Can you see these little marks? I forgot to mention this, sorry. These little marks here before the nucleus. That is a nuclear tone mark, and that is how we mark a high fall. Right? And I noticed that in the next slide I've made a silly error. What it should look like is this. Yeah? Mm-hmm. The little tone mark should be down to the bottom rather than the top. Sorry about that. So this is a low pitch fall. So this is a low fall on the syllable no, no. On a syllable no with the tail syllables, no you fall. And with a longer tail, no you silly fall. Alright? Can you hear the difference? I wonder. Here is a little test of your ability to hear the difference between a high fall and a low fall. Dead easy, this. Okay, I am going to say those utterances when I can find my script here. You see whether you can tell whether I'm doing a high fall or a low fall. So we start with the one at the top, sounds like this. Don't say anything, okay? Just decide for yourself. You can talk to your neighbour if you want, but don't tell everybody. Now. 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 Second one. When. 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 Third one. Possibly. 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 Fourth one, Saturday. 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 Fifth one, Italy. 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 Last one, lecture theatre. Lecture theatre. Lecture theatre. Okay? Easy, huh? I said, now. High fall. Yeah? Then I said, when? Low fall. Then I said, possibly, low fall. Then I said, Saturday, high fall. Then I said, Italy, high fall. And finally, I said, lecture theatre, low fall. Everybody all right for that? Dead easy. Okay, good. So those are the two falling, or the two main falling nuclear tones in my variety of English. Go on now, and remember, I'm going to say it again, the tail must be low and level after a falling nuclear tone. Go on to the next one, which is, looks like that. Okay, we start low, and then the pitch of the voice rises from the nucleus up till the end of the tail. So it's not like a fall turned upside down, right? It's not the reverse of a fall. It's different from a fall. A fall levels out. Rises don't level out. Not in my variety of English anyway. So what we've got here is a low rise, starting low, and rising throughout the nucleus and the tail if there is one. So if we haven't got a tail, as we haven't in, where are we? Where's my pointer gone? Can anybody see it? Ah, there it is. There. We haven't got a tail. We've got to complete the rise during that syllable. So, no, no, no. But when there is a tail, the nucleus itself doesn't, as in the second phrase, doesn't rise very much. The rise takes place through the tail. So, no, you fool, no, you fool. And in the final one, no, you silly fool, no, you silly fool. Okay, so that's a low rise. As you might expect, we can change the starting point of that rise if we want, and we can do a high rise. So instead of no, which is a low rise, we have no, no, is a high rise. And instead of no, you fool, which is a low rise, we have no, you fool, no, you fool. That's a high rise. And instead of no, you silly fool, low rise, we have no, you silly fool, a high rise. So the high rise doesn't start right down at the bottom, it starts somewhere round about the middle pitch of a speaker's voice range. Okay, now I wonder, are we all confident at telling rises and falls apart? Open your ears and try these. Okay, here are some utterances. The nucleus is always going to be the first syllable, okay? I'm being very kind in telling you that. It's always the first syllable of the nucleus, there's a tail following it. All you have to do is to try and decide whether it's a fall or a rise that I'm doing, and if you can, whether it's a high fall or a low fall, or a low rise or a high rise. Everybody ready? Where are we? Okay. Don't tell your neighbour anything, you can discuss it, but don't shout out the answers. We'll look at the answers afterwards. The first one sounds like this. When was that? When was that? When was that? When was that? Okay, and the second one was Sunday night. Sunday night. Sunday night. And the third one, television. 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 Do those three again. Listen. When was that? Sunday night. Television. Do you reckon you've got them? Let's have a look. When was that? Low rise. Everybody happy with low rise? Be honest. Sunday night, high fall. Yeah? Everybody happy with high fall? Good. And then television, high rise. Yes? Everybody's looking unhappy. Yet? You wait. Okay. We'll do 3 more. So the 4th one down is this. January. 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 5th one, probably. 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 And the last one, Euston Station. Euston Station. Euston Station. Do them again. January. Probably. Euston Station. Have a quick look at what your neighbour's got, see if you agree. So, what did I say? I can't remember. All right. First one was January. Anybody tell me what that was? Come on. Gimme. Yes, it was low fall. January. Everybody happy with low fall for January? And then I had, I keep losing it. Where's it gone? Then I had, probably. Of course it was, yes, high fall. And finally, Euston Station.
Low rise.
Low rise, good, okay. So, when was that? Sunday night. Television? January. Probably. Euston Station. All right. Just don't try and make any sense out of all that, by the way. Okay. The last one of this group of nuclear tones is this. It's called a mid-level. And it just does that. It doesn't change. It stays level, more or less in the middle of the speaker's pitch range. It may be a bit higher than the middle, it may be a bit lower. It's not very high, it's not very low, somewhere in the middle. So, and the tail, if there are any tail syllables, again, are all low and level. This little mark after the first one shows that you actually stretch the syllable out a bit for a mid-level nuclear tone. So, no, you fool, no, you silly fool. Don't use that too much. People will start rolling their sleeves up if you do that. Okay, so that's a mid-level nuclear tone. Now all of those, the high fall, low rise, high rise, mid-level, are what we might call simple nuclear tones because they do one thing, they fall, or they rise, or they stay the same. Unfortunately, there are some more complex nuclear tones which sort of change their mind halfway through. Okay, and you can see the next one of these, I think it's on the 2nd page of your handout, 4, very important nuclear tone, and it's called 4 rise. It's complex in 2 ways, really. One, that it does change its mind in the middle, and 2, it's complex in that it stretches itself out and falls in one place and rises in another. Okay? So if we look at the first utterance, we've only got one syllable, the syllable no, so the 4 rise has got to take place within that syllable, and it will sound like this. No, no. And notice that in order to get that 4 rise gesture of pitch onto the syllable, I stretch the syllable out quite a lot. No, no. But if I did no, a high fall would be a lot shorter. Now, what happens with the tail? You don't go down and up on the nucleus, you go down on the nucleus, level out, and then come up at the end of the tail. Okay? So, no, you fool, I say, exaggerating. No, you fool. The rise bit is on full, the fall bit is on no. And it doesn't matter how long the tail is, the fall is on the nucleus, the rise is towards the end of the tail. So, no, you silly fool. No, you silly fool. And if I'm at a very, very long sentence with the nucleus right at the beginning and the nuclear tone was a full rise, then I would go down on the nucleus, stay level all the way through the sentence till the end of the tail, and then rise. For example, when shall I meet you at Waterloo Station on Saturday morning next week? Okay, I came up on week. Okay, that is still a full rise on when, right? Now, you've got to be really careful here. Look at the high falls again. Turn back to page 1. Look at the high falls again. I'm not going to put it up on here because I'll get lost, but look at it on your handout. Now look at the full risers. Very, very similar for know you fool and know you silly fool, except for the last syllable. So if I say know you and stop, you don't know whether it's a high fall or a full rise until I do the last syllable. And if I say know you fool, that was a high fall. If I say know you fool, that was a full rise. Now, a very, very useful skill to develop when you're trying to work out what intonation is to listen to an intonation pattern, to listen to a particular syllable, and then repeat it to yourself over and over and over in your head. So I say, know you fool, and you hear, know you fool, 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 fool. That's not rising. Yeah? But if I say, know you fool, 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 there's an echo here. It is right. That's a very useful skill to develop, to take a little bit of an intonation pattern and replay it in your head, or say it. And then you can work out what's going on. But this is very confusing to some people when they first hear about it, that the difference between a high fall and a full rise is not in the nucleus, but at the end of the tail, often. Right? Let's see if we can work that out. Here are some utterances. Again, the nucleus is the first syllable. And I'm going to put either a full rise or a high fall nuclear tone. And what you've got to decide is which one I'm using. Okay? Lost my script again. There it is. Okay. So the first one, wonderful. Don't say anything, just write it down. Wonderful. Wonderful. Second one. Marvellous. 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 Third one. Beautiful. 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 Do those three again. Wonderful. Marvellous. Beautiful. Okay? So, the first one. Wonderful. Tell me. Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. The second one. Marvellous. I fall again. I thought I'd catch some people out there. And the third one. Beautiful. Full rise. Okay. Let's do the last three. The fourth one. Horrible. 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 Next one. Never. 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 And the last one, which hasn't got a tail. Why? 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 So, horrible. Never. Why? So, horrible. All right. Never. I fall. Why? All right. Okay? Just go through those again. Wonderful. Marvellous. Beautiful. Horrible. Never. Why? All right. Okay. Now, so the full rise falls on the nucleus and rises at the end of the tail, no matter how long it is. If there isn't a tail, it's got to rise during the nucleus. The last one, now we've got done six now. The last one, again, is a complex nuclear tone, and it is a rise-fall. You can see this on the screen, and also on the second page of your handout at 5. This is my favourite. I like this one. It starts around about mid-pitch, or sometimes quite a lot lower. It can start quite low. It then rises quite high and falls again. So the first utterance there on the single syllable no is no. No. So, what happens when there is a tail? Well, if you look at the second utterance, no you fool, the nucleus again is round about mid-pitch, maybe a little bit lower. The next syllable is quite high. Doesn't matter whether it's stressed or unstressed, it's quite high. And then the third syllable is low. So it goes, I'll slow it down a lot. It goes, no, you fool. No, you fool. No, you fool. No, you fool. And if there are any more syllables, if you've got a longer tail, the rest of the tail is low and level, just like it is for a high fall or a low fall. So, no, you silly fool. No, you silly fool. No, you silly fool. So, first one, no. Then, no, you fool. No, you silly fool. Okay, I like that one. Good. Okay, now, so those 7 nuclear tones. Let me say that there are more nuclear tones than that, but the 7 nuclear tones that I've described to you are, I guess, the most common ones. You do come across some nasty things like rise, fall, rises, and fall, rise, falls, where your voice is going up and down like mad, but you don't come across them very frequently. In fact, if you listen to a lot of speech and transcribe a lot of speech, and count the nuclear tones, perhaps about 90% of them are going to be one of a high fall, a low rise, or a fall rise. Right? Those are the most common ones. So those are the ones you've really got to get hold of. They're very important, I think. Okay, what we're going to do now is try and decide what nuclear tone I'm doing. Any one of the 7 nuclear tones can occur here. You've got a 1 in 7 chance of being right. Better than the lottery. Okay. So, the first one sounds like this. Apples. 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 Second one, oranges. 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 Third one, lemons. 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 First one again, apples. Apples. Then oranges. Oranges. And then lemons. Lemons. Have a quick talk to your neighbour. Low fall, we say. Yes, it was a low fall. Anybody looking unhappy yet? Can't see anybody shooting themselves? No? Okay. All right, apples. Oranges. Somebody said a fall rise. You must be standing on your head. It's a rise fall. By the way, that's quite often happens when you hear of these things. You think, it's one of those nasty complex things, and then you pick the wrong one. So I said oranges, not oranges. That's a fall rise. Right? Rise fall. Which one? The third one. Lemons. Lemons was a full rise. Yes. Big smile. Good. Okay. Let's do the other ones now. Where are we? Carrots. 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 Then melons. 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 And finally, raspberries. 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 So I had carrots, melons, raspberries. What do you reckon about carrots?
Low rise.
Low rise? Yeah, it was. And how about melons?
High fall.
High fall? Yes, it was. And finally, raspberries? High rise. Okay, good. Okay, I was going to do some more of these, but I don't think I've got time, so I'll skip the next slide. Come tone, but that's not the only place where you get a choice as to what to do with the intonation. Remember, on Monday I talked about the idea of onset, an accented syllable, which is the first syllable before the nuclear tone, and also about the concept head, which is the stretch of the intonation pattern beginning at the onset and finishing just before the nuclear tone. Okay, if you look at the second page of your handout, we start a little bit of information about the tones that you can find on heads, some of them. I've used the sentence, I've forgotten what you told me, and if you look at simple head at 6 on your handout, what's that? Pre-head. And then the head starts on the second syllable of forgotten, so got is the onset, and there are 4 syllables in the head, gotten, what, you. Then we've got the nuclear tone, and then we've got the tail. Okay? Now the first thing I've shown you there is a high-level head, where the onset is high and everything following it is high. So if we extract the head from that, it would be got what you, got what you, got what you. And now we put the rest of it, I forgot what you told me. I forgot what you told me. So that's a high head. Okay, now the next, if we look over the page, the next simple head, again the onset, the second syllable of forgotten, is high, but the syllables following it are not at the same level, they are falling. Each syllable is lower than the one before. Okay? So if I extract the head from that, it will be gotten what you, gotten what you, not forgotten what you, but gotten what you. So we got, I've forgotten what you told me, I've forgotten what you told me, I've chosen to do it with a full-rise nuclear tone. A very common combination. We can do the opposite, as we've got at 8. Now this time, the onset syllable, got, is low, and every syllable after that is a little bit higher than the one before, so we're going up. So instead of gotten what you, which is a falling head, is now a rising head. Gotten what you, gotten what you. So the whole thing, I've forgotten what you told me. I've forgotten what you told me. And the final simple head is when the onset is low and everything else is low. So we've got a low head, or a level head, I suppose. So at 9, we've got that. Oh, sorry, I've forgotten what you, gotten what you. And the whole thing, I've forgotten what you told me. I've forgotten what you told me. So those 4 simple heads, high level, falling, rising, and low. Unfortunately, there are some complex heads as well. Do you remember on Monday I gave you an example where there were 2 accented syllables before the nucleus? We've got an onset, we've got a nucleus, and there was an accented syllable in between. Okay? And we've made that syllable accented by a little step downwards in pitch. Okay? So one of these complex heads does that. It's like a high-level head, except that it's got steps in it. It comes down in steps. Okay? And we can see this at 10, where the syllable what is not at the same syllable, same pitch level as the end of forgotten. It's a bit lower, and you is more or less at the same level as what. So instead of I've forgotten what you, which is a high head, here we've got I've forgotten what you, little step down, making what accented, and we've got a stepping head. I've forgotten what you told me. I've forgotten what you told me. Now that's a stepping head with only 1 step in it, but you can have 20 steps in it if you want. You take a sentence like this, I'm going to step down every time I come to a stressed syllable. He drives a big, flat, shiny American car. Da, 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 da. Okay? And every stressed syllable was accented to, and I stepped down. If we look at 11, we've got a complex head, which is a sort of elaboration, right? Complication of a falling head. where God. Oh, but before I leave it, look at how you mark a stepping head. You use two little ticks, one for each axis. Now, the complex head, the sliding head, instead of forgotten what you, which is going down, falling, this goes forgotten what you. So I've forgotten what you told me, like a roller coaster. And again, we can do that on longer syllables, longer sentences. If we want, we can have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 axes. Look over the page. We've got a final complex head, which is the complex variety similar to a rising head. The onset is low, we start rising, but instead of continuing to rise, we sort of step down a little bit and then start rising again. So instead of forgotten what you, it goes forgotten what you. So I've forgotten what you told me. Oh no, we're doing it wrong, sorry. I've forgotten what you told me. I've forgotten what you told me. Sorry about that, my larynx is getting tired, I think. Okay, so those 3 complex heads: stepping, sliding, and climbing. The final thing to notice about tone, we've got one further tone choice really, and that is what are we going to do with the pre-head? Well, you can do lots of different things with pre-heads, I guess, but the major difference is the pre-head generally low, as it is in 12, at the top of that page, I fur, or is it high, as it is in 13, I fur? So I'll do both versions. I've forgotten what you told me, versus I've forgotten what you told me. Very easy to miss by pre-head, but they're not all that important anyway. And you mark a high pre-head by a little horizontal line, as you can see, before the eye. Low pre-head, don't bother marking it. Why? Why mark it? We've only got 2 possibilities. We're only marking 2 possibilities, we only have to mark 1. Finally, at 14, and I'm not going to say too much about this, you'll need to practice these combinations in your backup classes. I've given you a little table where the left-hand column is the head type: high, falling, rising, low, stepping, timing. The columns to the left, to the right of that are all the nuclear tones: high, fall, low, rise, high, rise, fall, at mid-level. And a tick in a box means that combination of a head followed by that particular nuclear tone, you're going to come across that fairly frequently. The empty boxes don't mean that those combinations are impossible. It's just that they are, in fact, less useful or less frequent. Essentially, you can combine any nucleus with any head you like. Okay. Right, to the end of my time. Are there any questions about all of that?
Okay.